Hi, welcome to class. We're the only two right now, but the other ones will show up eventually, right? I hate my life. I hate my life. And Professor Sunreis Productions! Hello class, Professor Sunreis here. Today we have another episode of replay analysis, and I had a really interesting game. It was like filled with misplays here and there. It was Brave Virtual World with this Brave branded. But it really showcased how to evaluate the Brave engine, especially in this new format without Ogre anymore. So it has like both cases of where you want to use it later on in the combo, and it had cases where you wanted to definitely use it early on in the combo. So I thought it was really interesting. I definitely wanted to share it with you guys. So please ignore the slight and bigger mistakes in this replay and just enjoy it. But before we go into the replay, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave feedback down in the comment section below. So let's get right into the replay. Here we are in the replay. The opponent is on 719 rating. It's his name or her name is It's a Fun Hofting. We are currently at 960 rating. Of course, we are at the Brave Virtual World train. You gotta know it. The opponent is playing branded. We won the die roll. Opening hand is Kowloon, right, Ash, Lala, GG. That's clean. His opening hand is right, branded opening, Draco back, branded opening, Super Poly, so it's also pretty decent. We are starting out with the Kowloon. We decided not to use the right early here. Main reason for that is I wanted to test how it plays into boards, or it plays into disruption, being hand traps. I'm honest, I didn't feel like just evaluating it in my hand. I just wanted to test it out. I also was chatting a little bit with I Saw a Frog Kissing My Girl, which is like also like a pretty good Brave Virtual World player I met on ladder, so we were just discussing a little bit here and there, shit talking, you know it, you have it. So I did misplay here a little bit, I think, but overall the evaluation was right, and I think in a hand like this where you have Kowloon and two names, just keeping the right in hand can actually be really good. We start out with the GG here on the tutor, summoning it. I think the biggest problem is you need to have the crystal ring route planned out, so we probably need to open at least a Lulu as one of the two names, and if that resolved, you can just search a GG, not a GG, a Lily, and then you can do the crystal ring route before you commit to the Brave part, where you can actually go Lulu first summon, GG second summon, and then Tzolk'in third, crystal ring fourth, and then you can use the hard draw right, or even Enchantress, doesn't really matter. You can just set it, activate it. Of course, first you summon a Crystal Wing, and that way you can play into double hand trap the best. So that's probably the way you want it to do. You probably don't want it to do it like in this video. Here I should have definitely just activated right, especially because it cannot be ashed and people are not on Ogre anymore. It's almost always gonna resolve. So I probably didn't really do a lot here, and it actually made things harder for me. Well, anyways. We will activate Qinglong, adding ourselves a Lulu, pitching an Ash. At this point, the opponent said, if I have anything response, I'll do it. I'll say if I have a response. Holy shit, I can't talk right now. So, what does this say to us? This probably means, at least in my head, it means the opponent doesn't have disruption. I don't think I ever had a moment on Dueling Book Ladder where the opponent said that, and he disrupted me. So at this point, we're like, okay, the opponent probably doesn't have disruption. He's at 50 cards. What does it mean? He's probably playing branded, right? It's pretty hyped right now. A lot of the good players are on like 40 to 50 card lists right now with no hand traps. The opponent is acting like he doesn't have a hand trap. Okay, it's 50 card branded, no hand traps. It's probably gonna play Brave with it as well. So we're like, okay, let's go. We activate Lulu on the tutor, adding ourselves a Lily and setting a Qinglong. Then we use Lily on the tutor because we wanted to get Nian in rotation. We probably... Yeah, that was probably correct to do. We are lacking a tutor in the end of this combo here because we will not have a monster on board for Laulo later, but that's probably super fine because we decided we don't want to go for Shenshin anyways, because he's just playing branded and Shenshin doesn't really do enough against that. So we go for a Crystal Ring line, which does play into a Niv. Opponent is giving us a draw here because of the Coral Dragon, not the opponent. The Coral Dragon is giving us a draw. Go for Tzolk'in, Coral Dragon draw, which will draw us a Droplet, which is like a fine draw. Now we set the ride, activate Tzolk'in, summoning a Crystal Wing. Next thing we do is activate a ride, summoning a token, giving us adventure. At this point, we probably should have activated Lao Lao. My thought process was that what I was gonna fake, giving him the impression I have a Draco back in hand by just not activating that. That was just a dumb assumption because the way this plays out, the opponent will know what we will have in hand, and the one unknown card will be a draw of Charge Warrior. So that was completely unnecessary, and could have also make it so that Charge Warrior will actually draw the adventure. Last thing I could have done is maybe chain block a Charge Warrior with the adventure, but that doesn't really do anything because an Ogre would have come out on the adventure by now anyways. So that's really dumb. We lost one droplet disruption with that. We could have. You could argue, okay, you want to summon the Griffin out next because the opponent, we thought he's not gonna have hand trap, but he could be a cheeky motherfucker and have 2 hand traps. So by going for the Griffin as early as possible, we actually play around double hand trap. But hey, wait, we're not even doing that. So this is like a huge misplay we did there. We of course want to do that because we want to get our Chucha alive, and for Chucha alive to be alive, we need to banish Nia because we don't have Chucha access in grave. So we need the space for Lao Lao to summon a Gigi and a Nian. So overall, that was like really played messy. We could have had a droplet extra, and even if we had double hand trap at this point, we still would have had Chucha plus a droplet. So that's like basically as much disruption you can ask for. So here we go for the Charge Warrior, banishing the Nian in the process. Charge Warrior draw will give us back an Italo, which is like decent follow-up, I guess. Now we overlay these two for an M7. We go for that route because, okay, we are playing against Brandon. That was our thought process at this point. So we really wanted to get that Ash back because this Ash is going to be insane. And the way I laid out my disruptions here, I thought pretty safe. No hand trap on his part. So he's at 6 cards, but we have a Crystal Wing for the Aluba. We have an Ash and the Griffin for the Branded fusions, or the fusions in general. And then we have the Chucha for his own Brave Engine if he plays it. So we felt really safe. We had like basically every line of play we had covered, basically. So we were just feeling good, even with those misplays we did there. It was okay because the misplays basically only get punished by playing hand traps, and his deck, of course, their deck doesn't play hand traps. Draw for turn is a Foolish, which is pretty good. Of course, disclaimer here: the opponent misplays heavily. I probably shouldn't have won this match. He is on a little lower rating, but it's not that bad. He has also a lot of experience. So I don't know what he did there. There were a lot of misplays, but that's what we're here for. I'm not trying to brag how I'm winning against these people with bad hands. I'm just trying to educate myself and most importantly you guys with some nice knowledge. So he's gonna do a big thing. Opponent has Foolish, Ride, Branded Opening, Draco back, Super Poly. Super Poly is probably not really alive here right now. Because his only generic card target I think needs a light and a dark, light or dark and a Despia, which is like the main Super Poly target, and we are just completely dodging that by playing wind and shit monsters. So opponent is going to start out with a ride. That means he is on the Brave cards, making it so that a normal summon Aluba is no threat for us anymore, making it so that we will use our Chucha here soon, depending on what his hand is, of course. We will get to know one more card in his hand because he's gonna activate Adventure here, which is like pretty good for us. So this also gives us pretty decent information. He's gonna activate Adventure, search a Griffin. He is gonna pitch Draco back. So we're like, okay, now we are forced to pop the token. We probably would have popped the token if he summoned the Griffin. So on Griffin effect to summon, we would have used Chucha to pop the token. That gives him a Chucha, that gives him a Griffin body, but most importantly, it is the best time to hit the token because there are a lot of times where the opponent is trying to normal summon or summon any body to get the Draco back, so that they can use this card as a discard fodder. And if they do it like that, Chucha on the token makes it so that they cannot use the monster they search on the adventure, so either the Enchantress or the Griffin, as an extender. As they lost their token, so they cannot get it on the field. So this is basically the best time to hit them. And even if they have hard draw Draco back, or they're just searching Griffin and they're not summoning anything, you don't really get punished by getting rid of the token. They just have a little more resources on their part because they still have that one body, that one free extender. But we at least got rid of the Omni Negate, which is like really good, of course. So he is going to summon the Griffin Rider. He's going to activate Foolish, sending probably a Snow or a Thespian Tragedy. At this point, he's going to send a Tragedy, and we're like, okay, this is definitely Destiny branded. Tragedy activates here, searching in Aluba. Probably. I don't know why they did that. They cannot normal. They can normal, but they cannot use the effect. So Aluba is basically just the body. I don't know what the thought process was behind that. Maybe they can use the the Super Poly now to do something. But like I said, they probably don't have a target. What they could have done maybe is Super Poly the Tzolk'in, go into this one Despia monster, which zeroes all monster attacks. But at this point, if they summoned that, we would have gone for Draco Bag on the equip, so we can protect it, which is like the main play where you don't activate Draco Bag immediately, but it's like super risky if you still draw after that, so we definitely shouldn't have done that. So it's looking pretty rusty for the opponent. We still have 3 negates against realistically 2 cards, because he needs to... Actually only 1 card, because everything needs a discard. We will just draw the Draco Bag now, or at the Draco Bag. Was like super dumb. We should have just activated at this point. Like I said, I'm in hindsight, these were the correct plays. I went over this replay like a little bit to just fresh up my mind about what happened, try to get my thought process going. So Draco Bag should have definitely gone on the token here, just to protect it from a hard draw poly, super poly, whatever. So branded opening, we decided not to negate this just because he's only at 2 cards in hand, and realistically only has 1 alive card after this, and we still have 3 negates against 2 lines of play. So we're pretty good, and also by not negating this, we lock him out of the extra deck, like out of Anaconda, realistically. So that's also like a pretty good plus. Now he's gonna activate the Aluba, the Juba Booba, and we are just gonna Crystal Wing negate like we planned it out. That gets destroyed, and he's trying to link up now. We wanted to copy paste him the effects of branded opening, but we still had a YouTube link. This is, I think, a video of mine. So we didn't try to shamelessly plug here, guys. I swear. We tried to copy paste him the text of branded opening. Anyways, the opponent is trying to scoop here, because Super Poly, of course, doesn't do anything in their hand. He definitely could have played that better. Maybe even using the Super Poly earlier, and maybe not even evaluating the Brave Engine as hard. Could have definitely been something differently. He could have used the Aluba as a normal summon, and to get it on get a body on the field for the Super Poly. I bet he could have done that differently. I don't know Despia too well. I just know how to play against it, but playing it and trying to break both, I'm not versatile enough on that deck yet to really evaluate that. It's super hard. I just know how to play against it. So game 2, our opening hand is Laulau, double Ghost Bell, which is like pretty good. Draco Bag, Emergency Teleport, 1 brick, Engine, and 2 defensive cards, which are realistically alive. It's like pretty good hand actually. And the opponent is on Sanctum, so we probably will lose. Albaz, which is the break, Aluba, which is Engine, and 2 more Engine cards in Patchwork and Tragedy. So their hand is also pretty gnarly. He's going to start with and Fright for Patchwork. This is like a little risky, right? You probably don't want to get drilled there, right? In a hand like this, if you get drilled, what do you do? I guess, okay, he has Super Poly and Fawn of Albaz hard draw, so he can go for... What would you go for then? Lubellion? Discard something? Yeah, he still would have had plays, but like, I don't know why you would activate this first. No one in their right mind is ever gonna ask Fright for Patchwork as the first effect, which gets activated. Anyways, normal summon Aluba, searching a Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion gets activated, sending Aluba and then Fawn of Albaz. I'm not 100% sure why you sent an Aluba here. Probably because you don't have anything else, right? Because you probably want to Lubellion here, discard the Tragedy, and with Tragedy search Ad Libitum. But if you sent an Tragedy there, you search the Ad Libitum first, then you would have had Lubellion, discard the Ad Libitum, and then summon. Yeah, you probably want to get the Ad Libitum later on in the grave. So yeah, that's correct, I guess. So Lubellion activated its effect. We thought about negating that with a Ghost Bell. Of course, the main pro you have with sending Tragedy into the grave with Branded Fusion that you can chain block the Lubellion. Problem is, we thought about ghost spelling it, but we know that he had a Super Poly and one Edge Imp chain, and not sending the Tragedy for cost there. We knew it that he had like still enough cards in his hand, and he also has like cards on the field to just extend with an hard draw Poly, and he even had the Fallen of Alba, so I guess he played correctly there. We of course don't know that he has some Fallen of Albas, but we definitely knew that he could still have play, so we decided not to ghost spell there, as our thought process was he's gonna get into Ad Libitum anyways. He's going to do the basic board of Dracopstelia and Mirror Jade. So we thought, okay, we will just hit the Ad Libitum. It's going to be pretty good. Super Poly, Mirror Jade activates, banishing the Luba to get Lubellion on grave, and then he's going to activate Poly, send Ad Libitum and Mirror Jade, go for Dracopstelia, Ad Libitum activate, and we will ghost spell that, I think. Yeah, we will ghost spell that here because we have, of course, a second ghost spell for this set, Branded in Red of the Albion. So at this point, we are feeling very confident. We know one card in hand, which is Edge Imp Chain. We know he's not on hand trip, so we probably think this is like an extra copy of anything or like a brick, whatever. But he has a Sanctum, which is pretty hard for us to deal with. Of course, he does have a shit ton of disruption still left, but we are feeling quite confident at this point, not knowing that there's a set Sanctum. Our draw for turn is a Lily, which is also pretty insane actually. So we just have to deal with one Dracopstelia and one unknown set. This is like pretty good. We start out with the Neon. We want to activate the Lily on it. We cannot really go for a rank 6 line here because of course they have a Dracopstelia. None of our rank 6 just out this. Because if we go for any other one, we can, any rank 6 without this and has an effect, we could have done it after that because Dracopstelia only negates as long as he is on the field, right? Because this effect is just to put counters and then negate the activated effects of the opponent's monsters that have predator counters. Not predator plant counters? Anyways, so Lily will summon itself on the Neons, sending Chucha and Qinglong, everything we want so far. Of course, we don't play Janwu, so we don't need more in the grave because Janwu is a bad card. Don't add me, it's 100% correct. Especially or only in Brave Virtual. I guess in Pure we still want to play that. So Qinglong activates itself in the grave, adding ourselves a Lulu. Pitching Draco back, of course, the one break, we don't need that. Lulu on the Neon will be searching. We thought about maybe sending something differently here, but it doesn't really matter. We definitely want the Chucha here. We could have gone the other way around to out this, but I think at this point we decided that we would want to go for what's it called? A break sword with those two. So this gets on the field. Let's pause here for a second. Break sword on these two. Pop the Dracopstelia. He's probably going to negate that just to play around the Zeus. So we definitely have two bodies here left. He's probably not going to play to negate that, playing around the Zeus. And even if he did, we still had one body. We would have probably, didn't really matter what we would have kept. We probably would have kept the Neon, not the Neon, the Lulu, just because we want the Neon in the graveyard if we draw anything nasty or anything. And then we had a Laulau and a Lily to go for a rank 6 line. To go for Beatrice, and Beatrice would have gone into full Brave line, and then we, instead of summoning Griffin, we could have searched another Enchantress, summon Enchantress, and then summon the Neon back, and then we could have gone for Baroness to, over the Coral Dragon to get another draw, and we would have ended on a lot of disruption. But it all is going to change because the opponent is going to flip his Sanctum or their Sanctum, summoning a Scythe out of the deck, locking us out of the extra deck. So at this point, we basically have nothing which we can do. We think about here for a second. The Neon will get banished because it's summoned of E-Teller, so our Chucha is actually alive. So we think, okay, just set Chucha pass and face the opponent is gonna burn it in red. We ghost by that. At this point, the opponent still does have way too many resources just because of this one Despian Tragedy, equaling way too many resources for us to handle because he's gonna set Branded Fusion, and even just one Mirror Jade is too much at this point because they're gonna get rid of everything on our field. and probably end on more disruption anyways. He also still had Dracob's Dahlia and probably would have just died. So, game 3, we of course decide to go first. Let me see if the time. Oh, we're already at 90 minutes, so maybe we want to hurry up a little here. But this is like the most important part I wanted to show, which is like the whole theme of this episode is like how to use the Brave engine correctly in multiple decks. Do you want to shotgun it, or do you want to value it higher and use it as an actual resource engine? Because that's something which can happen, of course, especially in Brave Virtual World. What we did, of course, in the game 1 was to evaluate a little higher than a Glorified Cult by the Grave, and we actually wanted to use it as a real engine card, which was, like we said, a misplay. But anyways, opponent opening hand is Prosperity, Ride, Cosmic, Brennington Red, and Dracobek, so he only realistically has 2 engine cards, 1 Ride, and the Prosperity will probably get him like to a Luba or Brennett Fusion. And we are on Ash, double Chucha, GG, and Lulu, which is really bad. We decided to normal GG here and then activate Lulu on it, which was like the first misplay. Because we probably should have normal the Lulu and then activate the GG on it, just so that we fake having more in our hand, because normaling Lulu makes it so that the opponent thinks, okay, he's probably has something to do with the tuner, otherwise he wouldn't do anything, like he wouldn't normal Lulu. And most importantly, we already have 2 Chuchas in hand, so Lulu is actually just a name, and we don't want the opponent to know that we have 2 Chuchas like we do here right now, because we are not actually adding something, so the opponent knows, okay, he has 2 traps in his hand. Maybe even 3, because he thinks we're on John Woo. So we used the Qinglong at a Lao Lao. I don't know why I did that at this point. I think I was, like I said, I was texting with, I saw a frog, and I just didn't really think properly. Definitely should have gone for a GG here, because this is like a bread and butter play, which we can do. We just didn't do it, and this is gonna cost us a lot. And if the opponent played correctly there, we would have definitely lost this one. So, GG, and I think on Charge Warrior draw. At this point, we need to draw something good off the Charge Warrior so that the Lao Lao can be good. We don't do that. Of course, we should have used the GG, because then we would have had the exact same different board, apart from this would have been a GG. So we could have used Chucha on that, make it a 6, and go for Beatrice, which is the only line of play which we have here. Using the Chucha on the GG gives us 2 banished traps, or spell traps, or virtual world cards, so our own Chucha is alive, and most importantly, it gives us another form of follow-up. I don't know why we didn't do it. It was pretty bad on our part. So at this point, we go for Beatrice, and we go for basic Brave line, sending Enchantress effect, of course, activates. So realistically, we should have ended on Chucha, Ash, Griffin, and send Token Collector of the Beatrice, which is like really good. Most importantly, it makes it so that we can use the Chucha as disruption after the opponent uses their own Brave engine, because we kind of need to use the Token Collector to hit the Brave engine. And then we will use our own Griffin, and this is where the opponent does a huge misplay, and we will get to that. Anyways, we use the adventure lines here, of course, pitching the Kowloon. We will not add the Draco back, just because we don't need to. Realistically, doesn't do anything here. So opponent draws the Droplet, which is like an insane card right now. In Standby phase, we will activate that to get a Token Collector, of course. So now they activate Prosperity. And here we decide to Griffin, because thought process, if they have Brave Engine, we still have Token Collector. This is realistically a good 1-for-1 trade, because this is gonna equal Brave Engine anyways. Any sort of engine is gonna hit that, basically, or it's gonna hit a defensive card, which will basically go 1-for-1 with that. So we definitely want to Griffin here, because we have Disruption, which kills our Griffin. So we definitely want to use Griffin as early as possible on something relevant, and I feel like a Prosperity is pretty good, especially with the bad hand we have. We kind of want to hope that the opponent also has a bad hand, and we kind of want to play into that, because if the opponent has a good hand, we will lose anyways. So, right? So we just go for that. We negate that here, which is going to win us the game here, especially because the opponent is not chaining the Droplet, as they, for some reason, value their Brave Engine so high that they want to keep the Droplet for the Token Collector, as it's now their only engine. But if they correctly did the Droplet on the Griffin, then they could have used the Brave Engine to get rid of the Token Collector, and then they would have had a clear field for like Mirror Jade or whatever, like a Brennett Fusion. Definitely would have had opened the one thing there, Good thing we still had an Ash, so even if the opponent played that more correctly, we probably still would have won, or at least we would have gone into a grind game. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that. The opponent definitely should have valued his prosperity or their prosperity higher there, just because prosperity gives you into the branded engine, which is like way more value and ceiling than the Brave engine has. And just keeping the droplet for the token collector, in my opinion, feels kind of lackluster. So opponent is going to cosmic the tutor, so it doesn't really matter too bad that we misplayed there. We could have just recycled itself, but that's like no big deal. Opponent's gonna activate right. We will summon token collector. Token collector will get negated probably by the droplet. Now we chain the adventure here. I don't know why. Yeah, I did that because I wanted to chain block our token collector from anything like a ogre. It could have happened. Who knows? Doesn't really matter too much there because it's still going to destroy the tokens. He's just not gonna stick on the field. But the opponent is going to chain a droplet, pitching the Draco back, which he hard drew again. So now the Draco bag is going to re-equip itself on the token. He's going to activate Adventure, giving himself Enchantress. We could have ashed this, of course. Thought process was, okay, the opponent only has 1 card in hand. There are 2 options. It's a brick or it's a good card. If it's a good card and he's using Adventure to bait that 1 negate we might still have, the Ash, he's going to use that as a bait. We run really bad into Branded Fusion, into an Aluba normal summon. Oh, well, not an Aluba normal summon, he activated right. But basically Branded Fusion. We run really bad into that. So we decide, okay, what happens if Fateful resolves? If Fateful resolves, he pitches 1 card, so he's only realistically playing with either Enchantress or a Griffin. We can definitely win into a Griffin control because we have an Adventure in our hand, in our field. So this can search an Enchantress. We have a Quinglong engraved, which can send Neon, so we can always go for the Baroness plus a draw 1 line, which completely outs the board, especially because we have a Draco back in our hand. So we can always basically go 1 for 1 with any negate. So we decided to let the adventure actually resolve, because like I said, we don't really care about it too much. We could just get punished by activating the Ash there, and anything which he can set up with an adventure, we can definitely can play through. So we had no problem. And the opponent is going to wanted to go for an Anaconda line, I guess, but then decided, okay, it's not going to be enough. He basically knew it. So yeah, what I wanted to show you with this replay analysis was that you definitely have to evaluate the Brave engine a little differently, now especially that Ogre is gone. Basically, the only thing that can hit the adventure part is the Ash right now. And it's like a really bad trade. So you have to evaluate slightly differently, especially with hands you have. If you have a lot of main engine, you kind of maybe want to use the Brave engine later on in the combo. Maybe hit like 1 Ash on the first virtual name, and then you're going to hit them with the Brave engine, just so that you play better into double hand trap lineups or even triple hand trap lineups. Having the Omnia Gate is super vital right now because of Branded being everywhere, and having an Omni Negate on either their own Brave engine or the Branded Fusion or whatever is like really good. And secondly, if you only have Brave plus like 1 of the main engine, you definitely have to use the Brave engine first, like 99% of the time. There are rarely ever times where you can go into a game and just play Brave control, especially going second. Going first, this is definitely a viable option, like 3 hand traps plus Brave, and you are just winning if the Brave engine resolved, because the opponent is never going to get back into the game. But going second, if you only have 1 potential or 1 other engine card, in this case it was Prosperity, would like 99% of the time either opening Aluba or Branded Fusion, you definitely have to use the Brave engine first, especially if the opponent is on the Brave virtual train and they have Token Collector and Griffin on the field. They probably are going to use the Griffin as soon as possible, just because they want to get the Token Collector out of their graveyard without losing their own Omni Negate. So always remember that, guys. You guys are dismissed if you swear to remember that. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode of Replay Analysis. You guys are dismissed, like I said. Professor Sunreis out. Peace.